You have to take responsibility for how you shape the context of your environment. The things you believe are true. If you think the country's going down, it will. If you think your industry's going down, it will. If you look for negative to support your negative assumptions, you will find it. The difficulty we have as managers and leaders of other people is, remember this: every belief system you harbor, you pass down to the people who report to you. So it's not just that you're negative, it's that if you employ 10 people, you've just made 10 people negative. Context matters. The best way for me to help you understand this is, let me introduce you to my next wife. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet Serena Williams Thembekwayo. She's not aware of this yet, but my uncles have already written the letter. We're just waiting for the address. Serena Williams is the greatest female tennis player of all time, they say. If you played a game of tennis against her, she would serve a ball in your direction at 124 miles per hour on average. That's... You'd be doing this, and all you'd hear is... But you wouldn't see the ball coming. She is amazing. The greatest female tennis player of all time, more Grand Slams than any other female tennis player in the history of the sport. She's perfect too. If you go on Google and Google perfect human being, click on images, this is the face you see. She doesn't have a blemish on her body, no stretch marks, nothing, no pimples, fuck all. She's perfect. She doesn't even use Vaseline, no lotion. She wakes up thoroughly lubricated. Did you know? This is true. Did you know when she's playing a game of tennis, she doesn't sweat. She sweats Valpray still water. No, comrades, hear me out. She's perfect. The only mistake she's ever made is she married a white guy. But we don't need to hold that against her. This is my problem with white people. First you took the land, then you took Serena. We need to talk. It's wrong. It's very wrong. What you're doing is very wrong. But Serena Williams is the greatest tennis player of all time because the game she plays hasn't changed. The rules are the same. And she's been playing it since we are wee high. The mistake we make is we think the games of our businesses haven't changed. They're changing every single day. And woe be unto you if you use the rules of yesterday to compete in the world of tomorrow. You have to frame your context. Amongst the things you must leave here with is an understanding of what are the skill sets of the future that you need to learn and know. What are the skill sets that are going to make you competitive in the world of tomorrow? Woe be unto you if you stay stuck in the past. So the first thing then is to really think about what this means in terms of your own understanding. Second, as managers and leaders of organizations and a team here, what I'm about to share with you next is fundamental. Your job and a role as a leader is to help your people see the elephant. What does this even mean? I'll tell you a bit about my team. So in my firm, I've got originators. These are people who originate transactions. We've got the people who do the structuring stuff. We've got the team that does the capital raising. You've got the legal and finance. You've got regulation. You've got risk. And typically what they do is they see the organization through the lens of what they do. My job is to make sure they see the organization as one whole. So the people in your team who work front of office should know what's happening back of office. The people who work back of office should know what's happening front of office. And the best way to test this is swap roles for a day, see what happens. Take somebody sitting in finance and put them in sales and see if they can handle the job. It's a beautiful fable told by the Hindi people of the Punjab province in India. They say, if you took an elephant, placed around it 6 blind men, and asked them what they were holding, they would give you an answer that is contextually true but holistically false. To the person holding the tail, they might imagine they're holding a snake. The person holding the ears might think they're holding the leaf of a palm tree. Because they're blind, they often don't know to ask the question, what are you holding, what am I holding, and together, what are we holding? You know how you notice this in an organization? How you'll know this to be true? It's when you make a customer promise, but operationally you can't support it. And here's the number one litmus test for us as entrepreneurs. How many decisions do you have to make? I have a philosophy. My job as a leader is to remove myself from the decision-making matrix of the company. It should run without me. If I'm being pulled into each and every single decision, that means I have not passed on the necessary knowledge and information for the organization to run. Which basically means I haven't built a business, I've just created a job for myself. Write that down. It's very powerful. Shape your context. Second, strategies don't win markets. Culture does. Culture is how your people work. And if there are three things we learned about how these great companies compete, they have three fundamental things in their organization. Ask yourself if you've got these in yours. An environment of sharing, collaboration, and trust. Sharing. The idea that I give to you information that benefits you, even though it doesn't benefit me. Collaboration. The idea that we work together on something that benefits the business, even though it's got nothing to do with our individual KPIs. But of all of these, the most important is trust, Basawan. Trust. Trust when you're running a business gives you one thing: speed. You want to move faster, you've got to create an environment of trust. The way you test whether or not there's an environment of trust, if you run an office environment, watch how many people BCC. How many people talk about somebody else in the water cooler? Who's having a discussion about who in the canteen? Trust is the easiest thing to destroy. It's the hardest thing to build. And once you've built it, your role is to protect it with everything. So in our team and organization, we've got a rule. I can't say something about you until I've said it to you. So if somebody talks to you about someone, you go, have you told them? Because there are two parties to the breach of trust, the one hearing the noise and the one authenticating the noise that they're hearing. Build an environment of trust. The third thing you must remember. Fact and fiction in the world we live in today about as near as makes no difference the same. Hands up in this room if your mother or father ever told you to eat your carrots because it was good for your eyes. Big evidence linking the consumption of carotene to the quality of your eyesight. Did you know that? I'll say it again. There is no scientific evidence linking the consumption of carotene to the quality of your eyesight. Some of you are wearing glasses and you ate carrots. Now I want to know, in this room are people of different cultures, different races, different genders, different backgrounds. How can all of us have been told by the same lie? Did our parents have a meeting at Sandton Convention Center and discuss the lie? Where does the lie come from? Who lied here? So I went and looked. 1943, the British are experimenting with a form of technology. Today we call it radar. They give it to one pilot, say Ian McNeely. They say to him, fly only at night and shoot as many Nazi planes as you can. He flew at night and he shot down more Nazi planes, and the guy's flying during the day. What does that have to do with carrots? Well, the literature tells us he ate a carrot a day. Apparently he loved carrots. Some people say he'd be walking onto the fighter jet eating a carrot. And because he wasn't allowed to tell anyone he had this technology, the lie developed in the infantry that he can see at night because he eats carrots. You are here in 2023 in Panyasa Lesotho's province, and you didn't even know that this is a lie from 1943. So here's the question. If there is a lie you didn't know was a lie and believed to be true, how many lies do you believe about yourself? When you're building an organization, you don't first create the evidence for greatness and then achieve greatness. You convince your people that they're great, they will achieve it. And you've got to speak life into your people every single day. You're great, you're amazing. You're the best person who's an accounts receivables clerk in all of South Africa. I believe in you. Receive the accounts in the name of Jesus. You've got to be the person speaking life into your people. Because if you're not speaking life into your people, then your people will believe whatever it is that's out there for them to believe. So remember fundamentally this. Greatness is a choice. Be great. Let me end.
product market fit in a great customer market. But what is also true is it's undeniable that those 1% of entrepreneurs who make it through all have a big dream. They all want to build a great business that they love and they enjoy working in. That's undeniable. The other thing that's also true is that whilst that dream is interesting to investors, what investors are interested in is the growth potential of the business, the growth promise of the business. And so successful entrepreneurs are able to raise funding in order to grow their business into a successful business. It may be on the road to their dream, but we call it the promised land. It's a great business to have, a fully scaled up business that realizes its true potential. The problem is that most of those entrepreneurs don't foresee the setbacks they're about to face, because this is new territory, and there are setbacks. And the undeniable fact is that most of them really don't overcome those setbacks. And so from observation and the data, we see that most scale-up entrepreneurs actually end up getting stuck. They don't realize their growth potential. And they end up not in the promised land, but in no man's land. Not the place they want to be, and not a place you want to be. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. So that's the background. So you're probably wondering right now, well, only 20 to 30% of those successful entrepreneurs actually scale their business. Now that doesn't mean that the other 70 to 80% fail. Some of them do, but some of them just have a business that doesn't realize its growth potential and is characterized by the daily grind. So what is the problem? The problem is the fact that the grind distracts them. The grind traps them, and we call the grind the whirlwind. It's also been called the tyranny of the urgent. So it's really those things that you arrive on Monday morning not anticipating doing, but there are things like the crises that occur, the relentless emails that come into your inbox, the urgent matters that need to be dealt with, the problems that need to be solved, and so on and so forth, that distract you and take your time, so that by the end of the day you wondered if you've achieved anything at all. And what you certainly haven't done is focused on what's really important, the important goals that are going to be overwhelmed by the grind. So it feels like that emotionally, but what it is factually is that you're experiencing very tight cash flows. And because you don't have the cash flow, you can't get the best talent in the market. And because you can't get the best talent in the market, you're stretched too thin and are doing everything. And because you're trying to do too much, grinding away, you make big mistakes. And so you experience crisis after crisis. As a result, your cash flow is poor, your margins aren't good, you can't raise further capital on good terms, and you end up stuck. And this becomes what no man's land is like. Now, I don't say that to scare you, I say that just to inform you, because that's the background context. But why does the whirlwind arise? And the reason is that once you leave the startup space is that everything changes, and trust me, everything does change. There's almost not one aspect of your business that doesn't change. So whether it's the goal, or the work, or the management skills required, or the culture, or the market segments you're focusing on, everything changes. And so, and in particular, the requirements on you change, because the priorities that you need to focus on as leaders change. So initially it was okay to be an entrepreneurial leader, rallying the troops, to leaders as business builders. That's the hard yards of building systems, processes, structures that are needed to support your growth. And once you've done that, you need to manage it all. So one of the big challenges is that everything changes, but what we need to do as leaders changes. So the truth of the matter is that what got you to where you are doesn't get you to where you need to be, to the promised land. So your leadership skills, your systems, your structures are just too immature, in inverted commas, to support the complexity that your business is going through as it scales, and therefore we end up in the whirlwind. So what does that require from us? If we're going to escape the whirlwind, as entrepreneurs, we need to reinvent ourselves. We can't stay like we were. We can't stay the innovative entrepreneur who's hustling. We need to become business builders. We need to become strong business managers. But the problem is that most entrepreneurs don't know that, but now you do. And so for the business to scale, it's important that as leaders, we scale ourselves first. Otherwise, we become the cap on the business. So what is it then that distinguishes successful entrepreneurs, those who reach the promised land, from unsuccessful entrepreneurs? And this is really what I like to call the first key to successfully escaping the whirlwind and building a great company. The key is you, and it does require you to be ambitious and driven, but more than that, it requires you to be obsessed with learning and developing yourself so that you constantly evolve ahead of your business into the leader the business needs for your business to succeed. But you can't do it all on your own. And so what CEOs do, scalable CEOs do, who really want to build lovable companies, is that they do the same with their teams. They choose great core management teams, and they provide them with the development, the systems, and the tools to win. Not the old game, but the new game. So the good news is it's in your control. So that's the whirlwind, what it is, why it exists, and the key to getting out of the whirlwind. Into the market that solves a big problem for a sweet spot set of customers that no competitor can do in the same way. You then need to make sure that you've got a product or service that delivers that promise every single time. And thirdly, a good strategy result in a strong understanding of the model of the business you need to build. Because the business that you have when you leave the startup stage is not the business that you need to get through the startup stage. It's a new business. And so you need to understand the different parts of the business that you need to design and build and do that as part of your strategy. So you have to be strategically focused. One thing I want to add to that is that as your business moves through different growth stages in its scale-up life cycle, there are some knowable objectives that you must meet and achieve. In other words, they're almost like milestones along the way to having a great company. And you need to make sure that your strategy is focused on accomplishing those milestones as you go. So I don't have time to go in them now, but this also is learnable, and if it is learnable, then it's feasible. The second discipline is to be really great at executing. And the point I want to make is that if you had a choice to be great at strategy or great at execution, I'd take being great at execution any day. I'd like to be good at strategy, but great at execution. And the reason is that unless you can execute a strategy, you don't get any results. So if I have to trade off, I would say start by focusing on being really great at executing and winning. So what does that mean? That means that you have to, starting with your management team, inculcate a culture of high performance, a culture of executing yearly, monthly, weekly, daily on those top priorities that are going to grow your business. You need to put systems in place and structures in place that align to executing on what's important every single day. You also need to empower people. You need to give them the authority to make decisions that they need to make at the right time in order to get the right job done. And then what you need to do, and I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail, is you need to build what we call a business operating system. It sounds fancy, but it's no more than a linked set of meetings that you have at different time intervals, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, in order to talk only about your strategic goals and how you are doing with executing them. They have nothing to do with operations, and they have everything to do with carving out time to fanatically focus on setting the right goals to grow your business and holding each other accountable for actually achieving them. And they're just a series of meetings. Now, meetings get a bad rap because we don't like them. That's not because meetings are bad, it's because make sure you get the very best managers that you can possibly afford, and then get them working together on a common set of goals that align to having a great company. Also make sure that they're not just good managers, but they're great leaders. And the reason is that you're going to rely on them to embed a culture in your business that is key to high performance. You're also going to rely on them to recruit top talent. And then empower them with a level of management below them that frees them up to spend at least 30 to 50% of their time working on building the business versus working in the business. Otherwise, they won't be the support that you need, and you'll be dragged down into the business. 2 comments I want to make when it comes to people. The first is that what talent looks like changes as you scale your business, and that's important to know. Right, when you start up a business, you really want, a lot of multi-purpose tools. People who can do most things sort of well or basically, but they can do it all. As you grow, you need to specialize, so you need to supplement that team with real sharp surgical scalpels that are going to do a particular job. And over time, you need lots of those scalpels for different jobs and need them organized into a great set of skills in the right structure. So the big thing to avoid is getting the right talent for the wrong time in your business. The second point is that, and I've mentioned this a little bit already about you evolving and your management team evolving, is that the management skills that you need to have change. So when you're a startup, you just need to have a basic set of management skills. Manage a task, manage a team, manage a project. But as the business grows and there's teams with other teams who are part of a bigger organization, you need to become really, really good at managing an entire function, a sales function, an operations function. And that requires more mature management skills. And once you build that, you need to be able to manage an entire organization, which is just far more complex. So going back to my previous point, is invest in making sure you have a great team, fit for purpose, for the stage you're in, who can support you to grow a great company. The fourth discipline is to build an awesome support system. I often wonder why CEOs of large listed companies, they have a great board, they have advisors, they have coaches, and we don't have any. If they need the support, we need the support. Because we can't know it all. And in particular, where we are navigating new territory, where our business hasn't been before, we need that support more than ever. So in the most cost-effective way, surround yourself with support to help you scale. In addition, when you're looking for capital to grow, look beyond the money. Look for smart money. Look for the knowledge that your investor can bring. Look for the network that they can bring. Look for the experience that they can bring. Other skills and capabilities and resources and assets beyond the money that make them a committed business partner. The fifth business discipline is being really systematic at growing your revenue. Once you find product market fit, it's not okay to be ad hoc in your selling process. A great competitive strategy that positions you in a valuable and different way in the market and causes you to stand out from your competitors should lead to top-line growth, which is far superior than your competitors. But that only happens if it's delivered through a sales engine at the front of your business. So if you had to invest in any capability in your business, I would suggest investing in having a strong sales team, organized and structured in the right way, led well, supported with the right systems and tools and practices and habits, so that you're able to build with great predictability a pipeline that you can convert at a certain ratio such that you have predictable revenue. It's the lifeblood of your business as you scale. So that's the third key to success, that you delight the customer you've just won. So we all know that a business can't survive without customers. We all know that it's incredibly difficult and very expensive to win customers. So therefore, it makes sense that we put every effort into keeping them. So don't miss this importance of this, because it's often a blind spot. I know I've just said let's focus on sales, but let's also focus on customer success. It's terribly important that we understand what the different types of stakeholders are inside our customers, how they interact with our business, and what they want from our business. That means understanding the customer journey for each of them, what the key touch points are when it comes to them having a great experience, and then systematically building the customer success processes, systems, and tools that you need to enable an experience that goes way beyond the value of the product and encompasses what your brand positioning stands for. So make sure that you systematize your customer delight. The seventh discipline has to do with cash. It's really important that you are militant when it comes to managing your cash. Don't underinvest in your finance function. Make sure that you have a finance manager or a financial function that is able to help you manage your working capital and has a really good understanding of your cash flow and is able to help you optimize that cash flow. I recommend that you have a rolling 6-month cash flow forecast that gives you great visibility of the cash position of your business and gives you the time to respond before you hit any cash crunch or crisis, because scaling businesses are cash hungry. And so we need to be disciplined when it comes to managing and optimizing cash. In addition, we strongly suggest that the finance function also supports you with other business intelligence that enables you to make good decisions at the right time. The 8th business discipline is to always be investable. If you are successful in your scale-up journey, you are going to need to raise more money at some point in time. So it's important to be capital literate. It's important to understand the language that your investors talk. It's important to understand what they look for, how they measure value in a business. And then it's important to make those metrics part of your business scorecard, and to set targets related to those metrics, the achievement of which will make you stand out and be highly noticeable to investors. Along the way, it's also important to manage and to nurture those relationships, because at some point you are going to need to raise money again if you're successful. So always look to be investable. Now, to do that, you need a personal operating system. You need a series of meetings with yourself in order to make sure that you're able to organize your diary in such a way that you make time and you block that time up to do the deep work on the business, architecting the business, designing the business, looking ahead at where the business needs to go. Because if you're not, no one is. The 10th discipline is to focus on bringing your A game. We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, and we all have things that we are just naturally great at. It's really important that you play to your strengths, and in particular, you leverage those things that you are just world class at. Bring those to the business and keep those sharp, because your business is going to need it. It does mean that, therefore, where you are weak, you need to make sure that your management team has the strengths in order to complement those weaknesses, so that together you are a strong management team. The other benefit of doing this is that when we focus on the things that we are really good at, we are more in flow. And building a business is hard. And you never fully escape the whirlwind. It's always there. So there's always some ground and there's always some setbacks. But to the extent that most of the time we are in flow, we have our mojo, we have our passion, and it's worthwhile. The 11th is to scale yourself, and I won't say anything more about that because I made the point earlier on that unless you and your management team are constantly scaling your management and leadership abilities ahead of your business, you become the ceiling on the business. So enough said about that. And then finally, it's important to be true to yourself. At some point in the journey, you're going to have to make trade-offs. Trade-offs between what you want and what's important for the business. And it's important that you know for yourself how you want to make that trade-off, because it affects how you show up. So there will always be trade-offs. My encouragement is to do what's right for the business, whilst respecting who you are and then making a decision that aligns with both of those. That you need to nail in order to be good at execution. The reason I'm focusing on execution is that if you can get these disciplines in the business, they are the key to starting to release the whirlwind, and they are always the key to staying on track and focusing on your goals as you scale towards a great company. Now at NXT-9, I mentioned that we're an online business platform. We have a feature called our Quest operating system. And it's a system that CEOs can use to embed a winning culture in their team. And I want to use this to illustrate 4 disciplines you need to be really good at, and an order in which to tackle these disciplines. First discipline is to be really, really good at setting a daily number 1 goal, and then achieving it every day. Now that sounds so silly as I say it, because in doing that you already start to take back control of your day. The second discipline to get really good at, and this requires you to do it as a team, is to set weekly SMART goals that you promise to each other to achieve. Now, what that requires is that daily you have a meeting with yourself to choose those goals. You have a meeting with the team to commit, and next week you sync up. The power of putting these 2 habits together, the second one's harder than the first, is that now every single day you're focusing on something that makes a difference for a week. And you have a sense that if we make a difference for a week and we do that for a while, we're going to accelerate our growth, and it's true. And it gives you a sense of control. The third discipline, and you'll see the theme emerging here, is then have a meeting every quarter as the management team to figure out what are the most important things we need to accomplish in the next quarter. Then work out for each of you what those are, and then let those inform your weekly goals, which inform your daily goal. So now you're incredibly focused for a full 90 days. And if you can sprint for a full 90 days, imagine what you can, for 4 times, imagine what you can achieve in a year. Long enough to be working on the priorities that really make a difference. Now, that sounds easy, but it's hard. So here's my 4 top tips. The reason this is hard is because as human beings, we find change hard. Even when we know something is good for us, we like to hold on to our old bad habits somehow. So that's why we at our company and on the platform recommend starting with just the daily habit. It's a small habit. So start with that, but then add the other habits fast. And before you know it, you will be working daily on what you need to do to achieve your annual goals. So change is hard, start smart, but scale those disciplines fast. The thing about breaking a habit is that unless we consistently do something new, we fall back into the old habit. So consistency is key. So don't break your daily number 1 goal setting streak. Don't break your weekly goal-setting streak. Because if we can build streaks, behavioral science tells us that we will shift our habits. But every time we break a streak, we need to go back to the beginning. Third top tip is that the whirlwind will still be there, and so this is tough. So the big thing for you to do is to motivate yourself and your team consistently to keep going. And the final tip is that you as leaders need to lead by example. None of your management team are going to do this until you do it. So you set the bar, you set the standard. Don't break your streak. So that's a strategy question. So the first discipline we spoke about is to be strategically focused. And so to define a strategy that is going to scale your business over time that you can execute. Now it may turn out that strategy reaches a ceiling. And typically it's because the core business that you're focusing on scaling has a constraint and it won't grow anymore. But for instance, you've saturated the market and you can't grow, there's no more market to grow into. What that requires is revisiting your core strategy and figuring out whether there are adjacent opportunities that align with your vision and your mission that you can grow into. And through that adjacent growth, you're able to scale the market opportunity and continue to grow. So that would be part of your strategy considerations.
Get into the 7 points why entrepreneurs don't succeed in business. And then we'll get into the lessons that we're going to draw from the rugby game. Number 1, you don't understand your customer segment. And we can't stress this enough. Entrepreneurs go into business with what we call a spray and pray. If you don't understand your customers, you're going to spray in the air and you're going to hope someone catches a job and comes and buys. But business doesn't work like that. We have to understand the customer that we are serving so that we can be intentional and conscious about how we are getting to them. Number 2, compliance is not done from day 1. And then it becomes a red tape. Because at the time you are now approaching your accountants or whoever's helping you with the compliance measures, they're charging you 3 years back of business. So from the first day that you invest your first rand in registering your business at CRPC, we have to make sure that we are compliant. And please let's break the notion that being compliant means you have to pay tax. That's not true. Even if you're not making money, you still need to be compliant with the receiver so that they can see the losses you are making over the years. From the time you start making profits, the receiver can actually use those losses to counter the profits. So it does work in your favor over time. Number 3, high competition. We love saturated markets, guys. If 5 people in the street are selling hair care products, you have to ask yourself at the time you want to start the same business, why you? And what happens in a saturated market is that you're going to end up trying to play on price. And then you soon realize that playing on price and trying to compete on price is a detriment to your business. So let go of the saturated markets. Cash flow and financial management. We often say cash is king, right? And we look at our revenue, and when you look at revenue, you think you've succeeded in life. But in the real business world, revenue is just vanity. Your profits are really sanity, but your cash is your reality. Because you don't have cash in your business starts to slowly die. Number 5, DJ Sbu was just speaking about it now. Lack of business processes. You know, accountants gave it a very fancy word. That's why I left the profession. They gave it a very, very fancy word called internal control procedures. But all it means, models. What is it that's making us money? It's not your passion. It's not your business values. It's not where you come from. It's just a clear story of how am I making money and making sure that I can make this business sustainable. And in a weak business model, we often look at when entrepreneurs get into adversity, it's very hard for them to survive because the business model is so shaky. The inability to pivot. In a weak business model, it's very difficult to even see or even have a starting point of where you need to pivot. Your cost structures are very unstable because you don't understand the numbers, and playing on pricing can make your business very unstable. And then limited scalability, not going to grow as a business. And this purely also depends on who your target customers are. And if you understand your target customer, you are able to predict how far you can scale or grow. And thank God for now companies like Takealot now, where you can put your products on the net and other people can access them outside of your own geography. So you have to look at different things like that. And then lastly, an undefined value proposition. All the value is saying is, what value are you giving to your customers? What is the value that you are selling? And different people sell different things. Coca-Cola sells you refreshment. That's the value that they want to sell you. If you're buying sneakers, they sell you a walking the journey. Sassel, Frontiers, and I'm using clients that I often work with. So even in your own business, what is that value proposition? And it can't be delivery on time. I don't think customers buy to not get goods on time. It also can't be quality. You go to buy from someone because you expect a certain quality. So those are the characteristics of what customers are expecting from you. But you have to go beyond what is it outside of defining my product or service am I giving to my customers? Are we on the same page? But with that said, enough about the bads, because the bads can be fixed. And we are going to take the lessons from a rugby game and how we fix the bads into making sure we are building and growing sustainable businesses that have impact in not only in South Africa, but in the borders of Africa and possibly globally. And let's start with lesson number 1, strategy and adaptation. Business is about understanding where you are playing and how you are going to win in the environment you are playing in. If you haven't defined that for yourself, you have to go back to the drawing board, because rugby teams have well thought out strategies, but within their well thought out strategies, they also know how to adapt on the field when things don't play out the way they thought they would. And similarly, as an entrepreneur, you must have a well thought out strategy, which means you have a business model that is solid and it works, so that when adversities come on the field, you are able to adapt them accordingly. You always have the foundation. The foundation doesn't move, it's solid. That's your business model. And then you build on top of your foundation. But at any point in time, when you feel like, actually the room window is not working because there's not enough sun coming in, you can change that. You can break the wall, have a different window, have a door on the other side. You can even move the bathroom to a different side if that's what works for you. And business is exactly the same. Once you have the solid foundation of your business model, you build on top of it, but when time needs you to change, you have to change with the times. And just like a rugby team, a successful entrepreneur is both a strategist and an adaptive thinker. Teamwork really does make the dream work. In rugby, no matter how skilled one individual player may be, success ultimately depends on how the team works together. I mean, you can see with the genes, right? If I didn't have my team working with me, and at the same point when we saw my pants were tall, we both had the same. So in you building your own teams, you have to get to that point where you are not the only one thinking about it. Your team needs to be able to support you in it. And entrepreneurs are very scared to let people go sometimes. And sometimes it does happen. The wrong seats on the bus can deter you from success. So make sure that you have the right team with you. And luckily for us as entrepreneurs, where we have weaknesses in teams, we can even outsource. Unlike rugby, where it's very difficult to try and outsource from another team or whatever it is, in the entrepreneurship world, you can outsource the people that know how to do it best. Resilience in the face of adversity. Rugby players often get brutally tackled, hard knocks. You'll see even now in the World Cup, they give them 7 days to recover, to make sure that they're ready to play a game within the next game. But they get up and they keep going. Some of them even keep playing with blood flowing through their faces. Similar with entrepreneurship, there will be downs. It won't always be an up. But in those downs, how are you surviving mental and emotional resilience to make sure that you can successfully deliver your goods and services to your clients? What are those things that you're doing to improve your knowledge, skills, and not only that, from an innovation perspective, how are you innovating your products consistently to meet your customers' needs? And we'll get into this one as we go through your customer segment. Leadership off and off the field. Unfortunately, in this entrepreneurship world, there's no off. Even when you're on holiday, you are on. When someone sees you, especially if you are the face of your brand and your company, you are always on. A man probably can only drink wine probably when he's in his house with his own family. You need to be careful to be a leader on and off the field and watch. And good leadership comes with visionary thinking. When we're running our businesses, particularly in the South African context, we can't think for today. We often think our businesses for today. We have to think for sustainability. And sustainability means we're thinking for next month, next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, and beyond that. We must have a plan. We have to take risks. But risks come with calculation. Take calculated risks. Don't just take a risk for taking a risk. This big one, digital and innovation. Being a leader also means you have to try and move with the times. In this world of tech, drastic changes, innovation, be with the people or surround yourself with people that will be able to help you to use technology efficiently for your businesses. And then lastly, team building. And then on this lesson, embracing healthy competition. As I said, if you don't know your market, you're not going to be able to know your competition. And part of being able to win in strategy is knowing also what your competitors are doing so that you can outshine them. Business is competition. You will always have competition. There are people that often come to us and they look for funding, and we ask them, who's your competitor? No one. Cute, but no. I'm glad you think you don't have competition. But there's always competition which we have to embrace. And you have to respect your opponents and the game. Rugby players respect the traditions and their opponents. In business, you have to respect your industry, you have to respect your competitors, and respect the customers that are buying from you. Which leads me to point number 8. You have to be absolutely obsessed with your customers. If there's any lesson that you need to remember from today, it's that. In rugby, they call it fan engagement. Imagine a rugby game without an audience, without the fans there. How sad. The same thing, your business, that will be a very, very sad story. So you have to be obsessed with engagement, meet and greets, how you react and interact with your customers, and also responding to reviews, because one of the things we don't do, part of innovation is hearing from your customers. Innovating your product and your processes based on feedback from those people. So always respond to reviews and engage with your customers properly. And I was hoping to take questions. Lastly is dream big. Dream big and make a positive impact in South Africa. I mean, looking at the big 5, in South Africa we can practically dream in the font size elephant. I mean, why not? We are the spirits and the giants, and we share a common goal of scoring. Scoring better businesses, scoring for a better economy, scoring for a better future. So with that said, I'd like to encourage you guys, entrepreneurs, to stay motivated, keep building, and keep building your winning teams to build sustainable businesses within the country. I have 2 minutes to take questions. For small businesses is to have what we call a data room, and tech companies are very good at this. What we don't do, you have to keep all your documents in one place. So compliance documents don't change. When you start building a profile and start applying for funding opportunities or even supply chain opportunities, they'll always ask you for the same documents. So we advise that you have a data room with all of those documents stored there, so that when someone asks you for them, you can either just upload and send it on email, or you just send them the link to that data room for them to go and check those things. But that also requires and comes with the discipline of doing it from day one that you're starting your business. So you add your registration document, annually you add your tax document, annually you add your BEE certificates, you add your financial statements, you add your profiles and CVs of your team members. That's how we often do it, and I know tech companies are the ones that are very good at it, but we have to, any business, that is the most efficient way for you to keep your documents together and make sure that you don't miss out on opportunity. Because missing out on compliance comes with missing out on opportunities. Even for funders, you just send funders link to your data room.
The shoes with my brother, I had never seen so many shoes in my life. And then during the start, we didn't have paper bags, we didn't have shoe boxes. We were just giving you your shoe like a bread, like my brother, here's a shoe, I'm out. Here's a sneaker, I'm out, you know? So 1,200 pairs, we sold out the entire December. I made my first million in 2019. And during that time, remember, I didn't even afford to pay the minimum order quantity of 600 pairs, one color. I didn't have the 4,600 to actually just pay for those shipment of samples. I had nothing. I raised my capital using customers' money, using pre-orders, and using e-commerce platforms. You know, I was so smart enough to actually go on social media, just push my brand and nothing else. So as I went in 2020, now I made 3,500 pairs. We're actually selling. They actually arrived, I think, maybe a week before COVID, and then COVID hit. Every one of us were actually locked, and then we were home. And then when I was home, I was like, what is it that I should do? I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go on social media again, and I'm going to push. I sold the entire 3,500 pairs during COVID. I was able to make 10,000 pairs. When I made the 10,000 pairs, it was sitting at the port in Durban. And the government, the president said we can go and buy our winter clothes, right? And then that's when Newton Junction called me. I actually met Sbu for the first time at Newton Junction. I hustled him. He used to hustle us. I hustled Sbu in Newtown. So when we opened our pop-up store in Newton Junction, Sbu was actually doing Legends Baba pop-up outside there. And then we didn't have the shoes because our shoes were actually stuck, at the port because we had sold out 3,500. People were actually queuing to actually buy the products, but we didn't have. We sold 500 pairs cash by writing people's names down on that day. We didn't have the product. A week later, we were able to get the product. We opened our second store in Pretoria. We sold over 1,500 pairs on that day, making R1 million a day. So that's when we actually sat down, as a brand and said, the way that we're actually moving, we're going to crash at some point. We need to be able to just pause and say, let's build a company. We need to build processes. We need to bring in more professional people. Call Glenda. Glenda was now the new MD. Where are we taking this brand? What is the strategy for the next 100 years? That's when I was like, okay, cool. If someone comes again and then have the same story, come from the township, they'll probably get the same perception, and then they'll obviously compete with us. And I said, no. We have to be strategic enough in order for us to actually build a solid company. 2 years ago, then we sat down with the team. At that time, we're having about 15 stores. We're opening a shop almost each and every month. And I said, where are we taking this drip thing? And I said, I want us to take it globally. But how do we do that? We need to have a proper strategy of longevity. And then we're like, we need to be able to build a business that is functional. That's when we said drip sportive. So we're now going to be a sports lifestyle brand. That's why you can see today each and everything that I'm wearing here is actually our brand. So we moved to just be only a sneaker brand that is so limiting that anyone can just go on Alibaba these days, brand sneakers and come in, then they can interact. We said we're going to be an innovative brand. We want to design our own sneakers. Not only design, but said we also want to get into apparel. Apparel is way too fashionable and way too, demanding. We don't want to do that. We said we want to tap into sports, functionality. We want to be Africa's first, not Nike, but yeah, get me. We want to be Africa's first, thank you so much. We want to be Africa's first functional sports lifestyle brand. We sat down and then we wrote down our pillars and of where we actually want to take the brand and where we are going. Then we said we have to exist in soccer, we have to exist in rugby, we have to exist in cricket. We're sponsoring the Lions Cricket Club in terms of footwear. So we're sponsoring Morocco Solos now in soccer. We had an opportunity to engage the biggest rugby thing in South Africa, but we were not ready. We were like, no, take it somewhere else. But we had those engagements. So today I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you. We have over 300 employees of 25 stores. We're in Woolies. We're engaging other partners as well. Because we said, okay, not only do we want to exist in our only stores, we want to build a brand so solid enough you can also walk into a Woolies and recognize it and be able to buy it. Because we are not retailers. We're actually a product-based brand. So that's how I actually made my move. And I just want to say to you guys, you must also just make your move and be able to be innovative enough and use whatever that you have, wherever you are, to actually just get your business going and then get to the next level. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sehoana, and that is my story.
And he's still so proudly speaking about it. And I think that's something we can all learn, is that if you believe in anything, nothing is impossible. And that you are worthy. So just to explain a little bit about my journey, I didn't really write anything because personally when people have speeches or addresses, I tend to fall asleep because it doesn't feel real or relatable, right? From high school, I had a tuck shop in boarding school. And it's there, when I literally did it, I've always loved designer and labels. So I'm like, how am I gonna afford, because my pocket money's not enough. So I'm like, all the girls are always hungry. So I had this little tuck shop box with locks. And I sold chips, chocolates, whatever. It's there I started to see serious profits. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can be rich. Like I can be the rich girl in school. So it's there I started to develop a knack. And why I mention this is, whatever business you're doing, you can actually start to see what your character is or where your niche is from way before. And it's very important to know what your niche is because that's what you will be great at. Where you will never feel belittled in a world that has so much competition because you're so strongly shaped towards what you're great at. Thereafter high school, I started acting, and on my 21st birthday, I said to my parents, please don't throw a 21st birthday where you'll spend so much money, people will come and eat, drink, and I never see them again. Can I rather have the money? And my mom said to me, what do you want to do with the money? And I said, I'd like to take a trip to China. I had heard that in China things are very cheap. And she said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to buy hair, like human hair extensions, and I'm going to buy bags. And throughout my varsity, I sold handbags and hair extensions out my boobs because I wanted to keep up having side income other than what I had available. And then I started acting on television, which is obviously my dream and my passion. And I'll be honest with you in saying, sometimes your dream and your passion does not look after you financially. It's just not enough to get the life you dream about, right? So I started to grow in my social media following, and it's there that I realized the magic. Online and digital space is magic. It is a place of no limits and huge possibilities. It's the place where you can flourish even if you don't have huge capital to begin. You don't have to have enough money to start a brick and mortar store. So what I did then was I wanted to test, as my following was growing on Instagram, if you don't know what I'm talking about to the old people, I wanted to test, okay, cool, I'm kind of well known, people rate me as famous, but what does that mean? I don't want to just be famous and it does nothing for me financially. How do I turn my numbers into numbers? And then I decided to do a test because I was like, how do I prove if my followers are a buyer's market, because that was my first starting base. So I started an online clothing store. It was kind of ghetto, I'll be honest. I ordered what I could, very affordable fast fashion clothing. In the beginning, I couldn't keep up with the orders because I was ordering from another store. So I was taking off the labels by myself, rebranding to my own label. Eventually, I was just like, Yazin, I don't care. I'm just take off the labels and send it the way it is. But that business was a profit. It was a small profit. And I did sell out. That for me confirmed, 100%, we have a buyer's market. And as everything grew, I guess I kind of just focused on being on television and work was enough. COVID hits. All income as I know it is removed. I had been in a position where I was trading time for money. So I was in big trouble because if you remember, we were not allowed to move around. There were no more events. And I promised myself that I would never be found in that position again. That I can never only have my eggs in one basket because that means that I perish. So I started a positive community on social media. So currently I have about 5 million followers on Instagram. I mean, collectively about 9 million. But this platform and page we started was just a positive wellness space for people at the time, if you remember, had huge mental issues. It was really strenuous. We had financial issues we had to face. People couldn't work. There were people we couldn't reach. I'm going to lock into purpose. At a time where I didn't have, I decided to aid underprivileged families in giving what was probably what I should have been allocating to my bills, but I used my money to feed families. Purpose is so important. I believe the next part of my journey has been successful because I did good. I think if you do good, naturally good comes back to you. And then we had a very interactive community, and we started to ask our community if we ever were to release a product. So taking it the other way around, instead of as a business forcing a product on people, people are woke now. Consumers know what they want, they're very clear, and they're very knowledgeable. The days of us forcing products on people are actually long gone. So we asked them, what would you like? And at the time it was, people were baking banana cakes and doing yoga and doing face masks. So a lot of not be billionaires in Africa. Why? Why not us? Kylie Jenner was able to become a billionaire, Rihanna is a billionaire, all from creating an extension of a public persona and your public craft and creating impeccable and excellent products. So as much as I knew we'd be proudly African and we may get support, the difference here was I knew that we had to create something excellent because skincare is not something that everybody trusts so easily. And we knew that we stand a risk up against the big giants like L'Oreal and Pond's, and they have years-long worth of trust. How would people buy a product they've never seen before? They've never tested because it's COVID. So we let them know along the journey, what packaging do you want? Our packaging is earth conscious because I'm a Greenpeace Ocean Ambassador. I care about the planet and I really believe we have one planet. If we don't look after it, our kids won't get to enjoy the things that we enjoy. We're eventually going to run out of clean water. We're eventually going to run out of meat that is edible. So how can I, in my little space, create conscious packaging that looks after the earth? And instead of creating it on my own, asking again, the community decided, glass bottles, aluminium. They understood, they said, cool, you can have plastic tops. So it was a collaborative experience, and in opening up, we sold out. Where my formulation office is, I remember the lady saying to me, we've had other brands come and ask us, what the hell is in your product? How is it possible that they have accumulated this much sales and they've just landed? What is it? We want the ingredient. And what I always say to people, I didn't do something magical. All I did was represent, as you've seen in the imagery, is represent our African journey. And I think we have it represented overseas, but we have to tell our own stories. And we have to tell them so proudly and uniquely. And what you'll see in the imagery as well, it's not just, even though I'm not gonna lie, I'm pro-female. and I am pro-Black female empowerment, and I think it's really important to be a CEO and to be a founder in this space, because it's our turn. Today, then when. And the product has grown so much that we are now in Takealot, of course, Superbalist, Woolworths, Wellness Warehouse, Arc Beauty. By the way, Arc Beauty, we're right next to La Mer. That's kind of like, that's levels. You're all entrepreneurs here and business owners, so you'll relate to this. There's challenges in business. What happens in a self-funded business that you and your partners have put your money together and the growth is not the average growth, and you're growing at 18 to 20% per annum, you would know that that's dangerous because you're self-funded. So with the growth came aches and pains. Like, we're actually growing too quickly, more than we can afford. There's things that you don't think about, like turnaround times. Vendors, you don't sell your product and you get your money in your pocket the same day. No. When you're first starting and they don't trust you, you get 90 days. They pay you in 90 days. As you start to build your brand, they pay you in 30 days. So it's how do you patch in between and make sure that somehow you're still allocating profits to grow staff, to grow products. And we've been so fortunate now and have launched a body care range. And there's so many exciting things happening, and honestly, I'm humbled to the floor. I can't believe that at this age, I'm here speaking and addressing you, and I don't think I'm any different to what you guys are. I just believed. And if anything, I want to encourage you to believe, and Takealot is doing some incredible things and opening up the market space. It's not as strict as it was before, where you had to prove. I don't know if you guys watch TikTok. There was a lady talking about, you know, how she started and how her life completely changed. Just by, you don't have to start a product like I've started a product. You could literally order a product like what I did, rebrand, don't rebrand, and sell it. If there's a market, but encourage you to research. Find out what it is that people want. Usually when you do that, it makes sure that you have a guaranteed network of people, and to also encourage you that in tough times, that is usually birthing ground for breakthroughs. So welcome tough times, because that for me was my birthing ground. You know, when you don't have, what do you have? Time. Are you going to stress the whole time, or are you going to sit and create something out of the box? So use the challenges that you have, and business is not easy. It really is not easy. It's lovely to be introduced as a CEO, and it's tough, but there's nothing more rewarding. I remember I was at the airport, and originally, obviously, because of Scheme Sum, my market was always like Black. So Abelungu, they didn't really know me, you know. But this white lady ran to me with her backpack at the airport. She's like, oh my gosh, babes, my whole family, we're obsessed. I didn't even want to put my Lekabe in my carry. It's in my bag. My mom uses it, everybody uses it. And that is the power of Africa. We actually are one. We are not the narratives that people force us to have. There is no divide amongst us, and people will support a great product. If your product is great, with no marketing budget, I didn't have a marketing budget. Word of mouth. People spread the word. This worked for me. People were sending before and after pictures that I didn't pay them to post. They were just like, thank you so much, you changed my life, you changed my face. And it's insane what it's grown to become. And the challenges of also, I'll be honest with you, of being young, of being an entertainer. People don't expect you to have an intellect. They don't expect you to understand business or have business acumen. So constantly being belittled in rooms. And when larger corporates start to see your success, they want a piece. And it's scary because you need that piece to grow. And I'm sure this has either happened to you already in your journey, or will happen once your brand grows. That is a sign that you've grown. So with expansion, I always say comes sharks. Choose the shark that will bite you the nicest. That's if you definitely want to expand throughout South Africa, throughout Africa, to the rest of the world. You have, as a business person, you have to be able to make those kinds of decisions. Not all of us are fortunate enough to have a limitless amount of funds. My future dreams and goals, I dream big. I dream big because I've realized that what you imagine happens. I got teary watching my own videos, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe me from a little farm in Swaziland who used to dream about this life is doing it. I dream about having maybe an empire. Waters, healthy vitamins. I'm very conscious about the planet, I'm conscious about our bodies, about our health.
Same story that happened to her, where Woolworths starts knocking on your door at a later stage. Now, obviously, Nazi, I can't mention their names now because now they're becoming my clients, and I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you. They're knocking on the doors because they can see good eye, man. Whether about time or about time, you know. In the beginning, but you have to do the work and make it pop. Once it pops, trust me, as she's saying, they'll be coming to contact you as well. Even with investors as well. Investors do come at a later stage when they can see what your business is growing. You guys are putting in the work. There is something that is going on over here. It's the same with us. The last offer we got was during COVID-19 of $500 million. Can you imagine? We didn't sell though, but yeah. If you keep on putting in the work, you know, at a later stage, they'll come and they'll ask.
Yeah, you know, one of the things, you know, in our space is that at first no one was willing to take us. And then I don't blame them because they also make money on the shelves. So what you have to do most of the time is to make sure that the product is very good, the packaging is even better, and then also the marketing as well. So once you get those things right all the time, keep on marketing the product, because all they want is foot traffic into their stores as well, so that your product can be able to sell other products as well. And that is what we saw with us, whereby almost everyone right now wants us as well. We're going to be into cross-trainers soon. They have 140-something stores. We're into Woolies, you know, we're also talking to other stores as well. And it's really because of the 90 billboards that we place. It's really because of the product and the continuous marketing effort that we put behind our products and our brand. That is what makes us to actually just keep on getting the calls. So just keep on doing that, and then one day, and knock on those doors as well.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You've been amazing.
Can I add quickly? This is so important.
Yes.
I feel like that question was directed at me. Sometimes things are divine intervention, and I feel like this is a God thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So the first thing I want to say to everyone is I actually brought a friend with me today, Lusanda, and she has been considering stocking product on Takealot, and what you haven't realized is you've probably inspired her to tell your stories of how you have your product in your room. She's able to realize that you don't have to start there, you can start here. The second thing is, I'm so glad you asked me because I started small. You have to look at what makes you different. You need to do your research. There are places that prioritize black female, and there are places that prioritize female, and I'm going to give you a hint because this is a sharing space and this is all love. Wellness Warehouse is 96% or 95% only women-founded brands. You understand that? So, the next thing you would have to research is, are your products clean? Because that's what they push. So start to do research like that. Look where you belong. He knows where he belongs. Find out where your product belongs. What do you have to market yourself? Your 4+ rating, how many orders you've done, and that you're ready to scale. The next other place is clicks. Takealot, we love you, no? Yeah, Takealot is our favorite. We're here for Takealot, but Clicks has programs that favors black females. If you can prove, and I'm just mentioning examples, maybe you can follow some leads, but if you can prove that you are 51% black founder with the right BE status, they will fund your factory, they will pay for your warehouse, they will give you premium shelving that other brands have to pay for. As part of a CSI with government to uplift black females, there are spaces waiting to uplift you. Find them.
I've seen both of you